Hi kids, we are doing Unit 2, Lesson 3, which is piecewise functions. And and I always think it's piece because it's like a piece of pie, because I'm not a very good speller. So it's piecewise functions, and it's so easy because you're just thinking of things in terms of pieces. So here's what it could look like. You could have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's just say at 3, -3, I have a hole, and I'm doing a parabola only to right here. So it's going through this point and this point. And then from here, I go to here, and then from there, I go to here. So what you're looking at and thinking about is these are 3 different functions. This is a parabola, and we're going to state where it starts and where it ends. So if I were to put a little sheet of paper over this, I'll use a highlighter, and I'm going to say, okay, this function goes from here all the way to here, right, along the x. So what that means is this goes from -3, starts at -3, and it goes to, I'm sorry, -4. Boy, I can't count on a number line, can I? So it's really 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes from -4, and your function is x, and it ends at -2. Now, at -4, it's going to be bigger because it's going towards this side is big always, and this side is small. So x is going to be in the bigger direction, but look, it's a hole, so it doesn't have an equal sign because it's not including the -4. It's everything bigger than -4. But at the -2 point, it has a closed in circle. So that is going to, and it's everything that is smaller than the -2. And that has an equal because the circle is filled in. If you need to, listen to that again. That's important. It's important for you to be able to do that part of the graph. Okay, so on the next part, we're going to do this part right here. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, and I'm going to use a highlighter that is turquoise. So it goes from -2 all the way to +2. So let me do that with my pen. I'm going to say this one is -2 to +2. And my x is the function or the equation or whatever, the shaded part, the part that's taking up space on the graph. It's including it on this one, right? So I'm going to put the equal sign. And this one is open. So I'm just going to say, well, the x is bigger than -2, but it is smaller than +2, and the +2 is not filled in. So this is what it is. This is the interval for this part of the function. Now, I've got this next one here, which is right here, and I'm going to use a highlighter that has orange. So it goes from +2 all the way to infinity. But you're not going to have one similar to that, so I don't think I'm going to go through that yet, because you're not having that quite yet. But actually, I guess I will. So this right here, your x goes from, oops, darn it. Your x goes from 2, right here, oops, why is that not writing? From 2 all the way, I guess, to infinity. I don't think you have an example like that, but it is because it has a arrow on the end. So basically, x is greater than 2 because it's an open circle, so there's no underline. And then infinity is always an open inequality because you can never actually reach infinity, so there's never going to be a line under it when it comes to infinity. So that's how you do it. You're just looking at it and seeing what space does it take up. So I'm going to use the one that's actually on your lesson or the Buzz, introduction, and it looks like this. And so the way it kind of shows it, if you're not really understanding it all that well, it's kind of probably hard to, see like, what is it? Okay, so the first equation, it will always give to you like this part. It's a little line, okay? So on your lesson, it says that equation is negative 0.47x minus 20. Okay, that's what that is, and I'm doing it by color. So we know we're having to look, let's use our highlighter again. We're going to look and say, okay, well, that goes from 0. Oops, that was too fat, wasn't it? Well, anyway, pretend that was 0. Let me just take that off. It goes from 0 to, I guess what? A small amount. So then you'll be able to pick it out. I mean, you know that small amount is going to be something like, this was probably 200, this is probably 100, so it's less than 100. So you'll just have to look at your answer choices. But the range of that goes from 0, and it is a solid line because there's not a hole, right? It's going to have that equals because it doesn't show a big round thing, but it doesn't show a hole. So if it doesn't show a hole, then you know that, it's including it. And then let's say whatever it looks like on your worksheet, it gives you the amount of 42.2. So that's what it gives you. So because you can't really actually tell what this amount is right there, can you? But on the next one that it goes from 42.2 to what? It starts here, and I'll use a different highlighter color. I'll use turquoise. It goes from here all the way to like, 300 and something, 375, something like that. So it's going to go to 375. You can't really tell exactly what number that is, but you know that it goes from there, and it's also included because it doesn't show a hole like I showed you earlier. So now let's do the next one. So the next one is, and so you're just doing these separately, right? This is your highlighter. This purple one is going to be for this next one. So this next one goes from 375 all the way to what? Where is that? That's like 700, 800. Oh, it says on your thing 793. So it's going to be something like that. So you can tell because you know that these are included because there's not a hole. Anyway, you just take each of these. So then here's the next one. And it's going to go from here all the way from the 375 all the way to whatever this is, 3,053. So it's going to go from there, 375, or 793, that was our last one, 793, all the way to 3,053. You see what I'm saying? So you're just having to look at the ranges, like where does it go from? That's how you choose what each section is. So, for instance, it gave me the equation of the line for y equals, because f of x equals, guys, f of x is y. F of x is y. F of x is the function of x. So y is f of x. So if it has negative 0.47x minus 20, that is your mx plus b. mx plus b. Does that make sense? So you are actually, and this is actually an equal sign and not a negative, so it's not a negative because this line right here is going up, so that line is positive. So that would be your m. Your m is 0.47. So for this part, it's just a straight line going across at y equals 0. So it's just going to be y equals 0 for that equation of that line. 0x because it's just going straight across. And then it gives you the equation of this line. It says on there, and your work will always give you that equation, y equals 0.24x minus 90. So it actually gives you this equation, and then you're telling what it covers along the axis, like I did with the highlighter. So y'all just need to kind of look at that. If you might need to watch that again, or watch this, earlier part up here where I was going through talking about it. So now I'm going to go to another example, that it has on the worksheet or the buzz information. This is another kind of piecewise function. Now, remember, domain and range, x is domain and y is range, And this is the other way that you can remember. I want you to look at this. Y is an arrow going down. That's the up and down is range. Isn't that great? And look at this for domain. X is going to the right and to the left to make that X. Right and left. Isn't that so easy to remember now that you see that with your X is domain and Y is range? X is domain and Y is range. Y is range. And we sang it all the time on that other video about domain and range. So don't forget that. Now, what you're doing is when you're listing the X in the middle of this, like if I'm talking about where this covers, it goes from -4 to -3, and I say -4 and then -3. Well, this one's closed in, right? Because it's filled in. It's all dark and like full of ink. And this one is a hole, so it's just going to be plain. It doesn't have a line on bottom. That one is your domain. How do you know? Well, you know because it's an X. X is domain and Y is range. So you're looking at your domain because it's going left to right. And that's what piecewise functions are usually, asking you. So, but what is this line? What is the equation of this line right here? Well, it's a straight line going across, so it's Y equals what? -4. That's the line. And here is the domain. And so each one of these has its own domain. This next one is going to be from -3 to -2. The first one's closed in, the second one's not. And it's the domain. X is domain and Y is range. Y is range. So then that's what you're doing for each of these examples.